Every mile drives the economy, from the drivers who fill the shelves to the professionals, investments, and innovations that support it. Behind it all are decisions made every day, under pressure and at scale. Hosted by leaders from across the industry, this is Cents Per Mile, insights that drive better decisions, a CD Life production.
Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 3 of season 6 of Cents Per Mile podcast. I'm joined by Kevin Hall of CDL Life and Karen Smirchek of Varia, like Syria. I know the audience knows her company though, and we're back for another great discussion here. Today's topic is going to be AI. And I have to tell you, I went to college in Missouri in the mid 1980s, and we had AI all over the state, except we called it authentic idiots. And that's what I was surrounded with in college there. But suddenly it's taken on a whole new meaning. Artificial intelligence and machine learning, they're all kind of blended together. They're kissing cousins. Karen, I want to start it off with you because I know you've been very thoughtful at Varia on the topic of AI.
Yeah. Well, I always have this passion for technology. And my goal over the last 3 years of a soft market was to be cutting edge and not bleeding edge. But I never stopped investing in technology. So just from an AI standpoint, I think you can sit here and say AI, or you can simply say technology and automation. And maybe it's not as intimidating to people if you call it that way, but definitely have passion for it and are dabbling around in it both personally and professionally right
now. Kevin, what about you? What's going on in the world of driver recruiting, retention, where AI could either be a valuable tool or a hindrance?
Yeah, we'll get into some of that because I'd be interested to see your all's opinion. But we have integrated AI throughout our organization. So obviously there are lots of uses of AI in trucking. There's lots of uses in AI out in the business world, but we've integrated. I mean, it has totally revolutionized our engineering, how fast we can develop product now. And one of my favorite books up here is Bill Gates' Business at the Speed of Thought. And we were never really able to do that. Obviously, the internet changed a lot of that. But we really couldn't really do business at the speed of thought. I'm telling you what, AI gives us a lot of options to do that. Now, it's not there yet. It's not taking over the world, but it is making dramatic impact within business operations itself. And I'm sure we'll talk more about that coming up.
Well, so can you give a more granular example of how it's actually helping your business get moving at the speed of thought?
Absolutely. So, for example, just in developing our technology that we use for our clients, a product, a change that would have taken maybe 3 months for an engineer to do with human hours can literally take a couple of hours to develop now. Just imagine how fast we can produce technology, how fast we can make changes. The ideation is always great. The execution is king. That's really where everything comes to fruition, right? And so being able to do that and to have things at your fingertips that can produce that quickly, my gosh, that we don't even know what that's going to allow us to do into the future.
Karen, at this point in your organization's history, are you finding AI to be more useful on the customer service side, on the operational side, on sales, or some other area I failed to mention?
All of the above. And we kind of approached it more in a volunteer fashion. I'll just say it's changing every day and it's changing so rapidly. So I think a small trucking company owner, let's just say 50 or less trucks, you're kind of doing it all when you have that size of fleet. And you can kind of be like, whoa, do I have one more thing to keep track of? All of the things happening in trucking is enough. But I think how I look at it is healthy competition is good. It holds your vendors accountable, whether it be tractor OEMs, trailer OEMs, or AI, right? And so if you choose one, and learn it. But me as an individual, I recently broke up with ChatGPT and got in a relationship with Claude. And so I'm about 30 days into my new relationship of AI, and I'm just truly wowed that I think sometimes the people that I'm around are annoyed with me sharing all of the cool things that I did. So it's been a lot of fun. But how I'm approaching it, Tom, is through curiosity and encouragement to kind of say, hey, I'm not going to tell you how to use this. And it's a human that has to sign off on the work. So like it's not like, oh, AI is going to take over your role, but it's like you still have to review it and put your stamp on it of saying this is my work. And really just today, letting people play around with it. And if we can share examples on what we did with it, then it's going to tweak an idea or get an idea for them to use it in their world.
We had an early interesting experiment on the sales side with AI last year. We made, using a sales bot, I guess, or sales agent, excuse me, 15,000 calls in one day, which is way more than our 140 insurance agents could do. Got several hundred legitimate leads out of it. I forget the number, 600 maybe. And at the end of the day, though, we kind of grew a little bit disillusioned with that. People started to recognize when it was an AI agent, and insurance is complex enough, not to mention frustrating enough, that we're not finding as much value there as we are more on the back office, helping our customer service team get to emails faster, the whole deal. But the whole freight industry has always been ripe for technology experimentation, whether it's an asset-based carrier or a broker. That's why Uber and others came in 11 or 12 years ago to try to remake the industry with varying degrees of success. Convoy, another one. So where do you think the best value will be found as we look out 2 or 3 years down the road?
I mean, in my mind, the best value are the ones that are training their people to accept change and adapt to these technologies as they grow. And that's just a fundamental piece that has been in technology for years and years and years, right? So those companies that built that culture, those were the ones that thrived when new things came out, because they're not just stuck in what ChatGPT is. Karen's moved to Claude. She'll move back to ChatGPT in a few months, maybe if ChatGPT woos her over again, right? And so I think that's really the key is building a culture that allows you to take advantage of some of these opportunities that are out there.
Karen, what do you think 2, 3 years from now? Let's say, tying in our last episode about a super cycle, for those that missed it, you can get it. If we do have a super cycle in 3 years from now, that cycle's coming, beginning to wane a little bit. What do you think will have been the best success stories, at least within trucking?
Man, so in trucking, I think that the last trade show I went to, when I went to the exhibit hall floor, 95% of the people on the exhibit hall floor were tech. Like just one thing or the other, right? And so I used to have this mindset that when I go into a contract with a vendor, I don't want it to be more than 12 months because technology is changing that fast. I want them to keep earning my business versus having to do business with me because I'm in a contract. So when you say like, where will this be in 2 to 3 years? I don't think that any of us can truly comprehend where it's at. Like, I think it's going to be 10,000x of where it is today. And so for me, like being wowed over the last 30 days, I can't even imagine what that future is. How I like to share it with my team is that my goal is to replace keystrokes and give you time with relationships. So I'll share a personal story is being able to take a bunch of data and get it into a useful format for me to make a business decision. That used to be me going to a data analyst, sharing what I wanted, getting a draft back maybe 5 to 10 days later, depending on how complex my problem was, and then giving it back to them to rearrange it again, versus literally having things within 2 hours of me working as a thought partner or whatever, however I wanted to utilize it, in in whatever decision that was.
And way faster, closer to business at the speed of thought now, right? How long would have that taken you to go through that process? Everybody's concerned about taking jobs. And I don't know if you remember the Klarna example. Klarna came out and reduced their headcount from 5,000 to like 3,800 or whatever that was. And then they reversed it, right? The CEO, he first came out and said, "Hey, we're going to be an AI first organization, and we're going to there's been all kinds of layoffs related to AI, Microsoft, the whole nine yards." But Klarna was one of the more public stories where the CEO had to then come back out and say, "Hey, we had to hire some of those folks back right? Because we went a little too far." Personally, I think AI has been overhyped in terms of its current status, not in terms of its potential. I mean, personally, it got some seventh grade math wrong just a few months ago. But right. And so you really have to be careful. And I do think there's vendors that are overhyping it. We went to a conference about doing AI and recruiting, and the comment was that by 2027, 100% of recruiting will be outsourced to AI. I don't personally believe that. I think a human element is always involved into that equation. I think AI is going to enable recruiters to do a lot more than what they can today, and make their life easier, and really make the experience of the driver much better. But curious to see your thoughts. I mean, do you think the vendors are overhyping it? Do you think AI is overhyped, or is it spot on?
Tom, you get to go first.
Okay. Well, of course they are, because it's new, it's exciting, and it does have great capabilities, but that's what happens. It's not unlike friends of yours that boast about a hot new restaurant or the greatest movie, and you hear it for 3, 4 weeks, and you finally go and you can't wait. And then you go, "Oh, that was fine." And there's a little bit of that with AI sometimes. And I jotted down, speaking to a friend of mine the other day who's on the brokerage side, here's some of the areas that to me seem like no brainers. No brainers are kind of my specialty. So, and, things like check calls and updates. So maybe confirming the appointment time, or, hey, we're going to be late because of weather, whatever the issue is. Rekeying shipment data. Nobody really likes to do that as a person. Detention and accessorials, as well as auditing to make sure you're getting paid those, load building and rating. And I would add to that also, especially for those carriers on the asset-based side, but, brokers, that the bigger brokers that are being invited to bids, AI is probably one of the best tools potentially for pricing and bids, because the enormity of the volumes. I mean, if you think about it, I'm going to give a way oversimplified example, but let's say a motor carrier, they've got their 100 lanes that they really want to build their network around. I'm using a round number on purpose. And so you get all these bids coming in, you can take a look at that, and then you can incorporate data around, okay, this is a 24/7 facility. This one's 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And of course, some of that's in the bid data, but to bring it together, and maybe you've got notes on this facility, our drivers hate it for these reasons. This facility doesn't have indoor bathrooms, and for our women drivers, we don't want them using porta potties. So it can be a mix of data around the raw rates that you need, maybe even incorporating time, not just rate per mile, but also those other qualitative elements. So I think that's one of the great frontiers for AI, is going to be in the use of pricing.
I think it's going to be used everywhere. And I would say, if it's almost like, instead of saying, are vendors overselling AI, is, I would almost say, I would be cautious if I was working with a vendor that wasn't incorporating AI in what they're doing today for me, right? Because like, that is what's next. And I say AI is like the internet for those of us that didn't grow up with the internet, right? That you're going to have to embrace it, or you're going to be left behind. But I also say I think there's individuals. One of the things I read over the weekend is that 50% of adults are using a chat AI tool, and to me, I'm like, wow, I've been utilizing this for 2 years now, and we're at 50% of adults that are using it in a chat functionality, right? Of really, then in their mind they're thinking that that's what AI is. It's going to help me find something faster, and they're not even dreaming about the things that are actually happening with AI today.
That's right. I mean, that is a portion of AI, but that's not what the future of AI is, right? I mean,
Yeah, I
the
mean, just the
ability.
terminology that I learned in the last 6 months from the different conferences and meetings that I've been part of, such as vibe coding and token economy and citizen developer, and I'm like, whoa, okay, like I need to keep learning here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the cool part. We were actually doing an early variant of AI, machine learning, if you remember that term, right? We were doing that years ago with programmatic bidding for job ads and where to place ads and doing all of those things. Today we've moved into using AI for not necessarily chatbots. Like the chatbot piece of a driver recruiting is one of the more easy things to accomplish. The piece we're looking at is, I believe, driver recruiting is more like consumer marketing. And how can we track these drivers through their whole journey of finding a job, understanding where they are in their decision making process, and how can we help that human be better at recruiting, not do the recruiting for them, but give them the intelligence based on what we can do from an AI model perspective, to make them better, right? To help them not do the mundane tasks that they hate doing, which is making phone calls and leaving voicemails and making phone calls and leaving voicemails. We can accomplish a lot of those things, but how can we attach them to a driver that wants to work for them and that the recruiters can close the deal? And the same thing on the sales, right? How do we get these opportunities and give a sales rep the things in right at their fingertips to be able to close that deal the best and the fastest that it can happen. And I think that's really the next evolution and really the potential of AI is superhumaning people, right? Bringing all of that AI processing when it's thinking behind the scenes and then saying, "Hey, Kevin, you need to do this because these things just happen." That's really when we're going to get closer to the speed of thought.
As a consumer, here's an example of how AI has evolved in the last 4 or 5 quarters. So later this week, I've got an oil change before work, and I forgot to mention I want my tires rotated, and I've got a problem now with my rear windshield fluid dispenser. And so I remember a year ago, I had to go back and amend what I was going in for, and I couldn't get it done with the AI agent. But now the AI agent was like, okay, yes, we'll rotate your tires, check your rear window fluid dispenser. And I was like, okay, all right, I can live with that. But I was kind of dreading the call back the other day. So that's how little things like that, as long as it continues to advance to where we really live, and it's not so black and white, because life is always going to have, just like truck driving, it looks great, the load going from Chicago to Dallas, but along the way, there's going to be an accident or two, certain times of the year, weather, road construction, whatever it may be. It's never just as simple as going from point A to point B.
Tom, I really liked that example that you gave, and it was more of like you found pleasure from working with an agent and the improvement that you had from that agent over a 12-month period of time. And I think that's where people are like, well, are you going to tell the driver they're talking to an agent? And it's like, well, we're not going to hide it. We're not going to say they're talking to a human. I actually personally like to play the game when I'm interacting. I was like, am I interacting with a robot or am I interacting with a human? Are you real?
Ask the question. Do you ask the question, are you human? That's what I do.
I I did that last week and the person said, yes, I am a human. I was like, oh, sorry.
I still didn't believe them when they said that. I still think they were AI and they just said that they were human. I truly believe that. I've yet to find an AI bot that I really enjoy interacting with, to be honest with you. Like it just for some of the basic things to get started, but Yeah, I mean, it's not quite there yet. It'll get there. Trust me. The improvement and the exponential
Yeah.
improvement that happens day in day out with AI. That's why it's called learning models, because it learns. Will dramatically improve that
Well, let me
soon.
give you an example. So at Reliance, we are an insurance agency, so we don't underwrite. But a lot of the underwriters that we work with are using AI to better assess the risk and financial profile of motor carriers. However, where we have been trying, and it's probably more true machine learning, but we have our marketing guide, which basically all 200 underwriters that we work with, it lists all of their underwriting standards, things like we only work with drivers 2 years experience or more, or we don't work in Illinois, but we work in these other, 23 states. There can be, 100 different things. We don't do hazmat. We do hazmat, whatever it is. And so, just a couple of years ago, an agent of ours would maybe get an opportunity from ABC Motor Carrier, and they look over some of the basic information after talking to the owner or the risk manager, and there are immediately 3 or 4 underwriters comes to mind. Tribal knowledge. Yes, this is a good fit. Great West here, National Interstate there, whatever it is. But by using machine learning to look at this vast marketing guide, which is hundreds and hundreds of pages, it can now recommend, okay, you got your 3 or 4 from your mind. Here's another 3 other agent or underwriters that you might consider. Oh, this underwriter, which left Georgia 3 years ago, has come back into the market. Or this carrier now, they're willing to go down to a year and a half of driver experience. And so it allows the best of both worlds, the tribal knowledge of the agent plus a real-time recognition where the market is. It'd be hard for an insurance agent to keep up with all of that day after day. So I think that's a great use case.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be interesting to get your all's take on, at the end of the day, this is to bring insights that drive better decisions for our viewer audience. We have people all over the spectrum watching us right now, from small carriers to big carriers to vendors to whomever. So, Karen, let's start with you. Like, what do you think as a leader they should be doing right now? Like, you've mentioned a lot of things you're doing. They haven't even started in AI. What would you say? They're more advanced. What would you say? Like, give some insights as to what you think they should be doing right now within their company.
So I think if you haven't started yet, sign up, get started, be curious. About a year and a half ago, I bought a book called The AI Driven Leader, which was really helpful in helping you write a prompt and kind of asking it's all about the prompt. But now AI has gotten so smart, you can say, hey, I'm trying to figure this out, write the right prompt for me. Right. So again, it's like, I think there's definitely pieces in that book that's still valid today, but I think you can also use AI to help you get to it. And so if you just get curious, but really for me is saying, what's that thing that you avoid because you don't actually, or you procrastinate because you don't enjoy doing it, and saying, do you think AI can help you do this? Ask it if it can help you do it. But I actually just want to step back before I go into that a little further. I think the security on how you're using AI is probably the biggest thing before you even get started with the curiosity. And for that, I would say is if you're not on a paid account with the private settings off, anything that you're putting into that tool is going to be feeding other people's prompts. So you need to make sure that from a security standpoint, and AI can be really strong. My husband shared a story where someone accidentally deleted his entire C drive because he fed it the wrong thing, right? And so it's like, make sure that you're connected with your IT team, that you don't have PII and stuff like that you're pushing into these things, or that, is it read only? Is it right? And if so, how much access are you giving it? My IT team gave me a separate laptop And they said, my current laptop has too many credentials. You can only do it over here.
You bring up a great point. We're actually seeing vendors put that in contracts right now, like that we cannot use their data for learning models. And so, yeah, that's, I don't think most people realize that the free version is not, it can be used. The data, the information that you push up will be used for learning and for memory. And so definitely great recommendation to get a paid account and secure those to turn off the memory part of it.
To what you just said though, data is the currency that we all have, right? Like that I have so much data through all of the different systems and getting that data into a usable format. So I think it's going back to, what are you procrastinating? What's the problem you're trying to solve? And you get to speak to this in plain English and describe what you want and keep going at it until you get what you actually want. And I think, so don't use a failure from 6 months ago, 12 months ago, 2 years ago to say AI can't do that. Because I can tell you how fed up I got when I tried to feed an Excel spreadsheet 2 years ago to what it does today. It's night and day difference.
Even last year. I mean, again, it missed a basic math problem a year ago for me.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I can do it faster myself. Move on. And that's not the case anymore.
I was going to say, the question was, if companies haven't started or have barely started, what would you recommend? I think another suggestion I would make is train your employees. First of all, with the whole AI thing, there's a lot of fear, whether people voice that or not. They're afraid they might lose their job, what's going to happen here, there. And so whether you're a Microsoft or a Google user, a lot of those now, like, Copilot is part of our Microsoft subscription, but too many companies, they've allowed their employees to freelance. So people started with Chat GPT and Grok and Copilot and other things. Claude now is the latest, hottest thing. As a firm, you probably should just have a one-day training program, or it could even be an hour or two for your employees. Hey, these are some of the common platforms. Here's some of the differences. Here's the strengths. Here's where we might be heading with this technology. And ultimately, I think if the conversation is, you all have parts of your job that are frustrating, things that get stymied. Maybe it's interactions with another department. Maybe it's interactions with customers. How might AI help us? But start with that education, because people are just employees. If companies aren't talking about it, then employees are almost assuredly worried that AI is going to be used to displace them.
I mean, I go back, it's why I mentioned earlier, I go back to the culture of change, adaptation, the ability to accept new tech, whatever the technology is. It's going to change 2 months from now. But to highlight that, we had one client that said that their CEO said, I want you to find one vendor that uses AI, bring it in and execute it, whether it works or not. We want to learn from it, and I want you to showcase that to the employees. We do that on a regular basis. We have people testing and trialing and doing new things and bringing it up and showcasing it to others and getting that motion, and that, Karen mentioned it, curiosity, right? That is the thing that always wins at the end of the day in my mind, matching that with execution. But so yeah, I think building the culture is the most important thing right now.
Let me share an example, Kevin, real quick. Is that I used to think that, I didn't want something out of the box, because then that's not going to differentiate Viria from others. And so I was working with a third-party company in Colorado for multiple months and had poured money into some automations, of saying, and now it's like, well, I can do this in-house. And I had to get over the sunk cost of what I've already spent, right? That money is gone regardless.
Right.
And now through the tools that my team has used, we're automating what we were trying to partner with someone to automate.
Awesome.
2 years ago.
Fantastic.
Right. So it's like, if you have sunk cost into something, don't keep pouring into it. Right. Like,
right.
Step back and say the technology is different today.
Awesome.
How else can you approach this?
Well,
Tom,
one quick example here before we wrap it up. I do get asked to give a lot of presentations a year. I think Karen knows that, probably a dozen or so. I haven't found it as useful there. If I'm looking for a hard to find statistic, it might help me find something. But at the end of the day, I've not found it as helpful for opinions yet. I think it's great for data, great for helping very mundane task. But at the end of the day, an opinion, especially when there's change in the air, I'm not sure that AI is quite equipped for that just yet. Like if I were to ask, when is the stock market going to crash? Are we going to have another Great Depression? I'm not even sure that answer is more valuable than whatever opinion I can offer. As long as it's
100%, Tom.
One thing that will make it do that, AI is very friendly right now, but you can ask it not to be friendly, to challenge things.
Yep.
It's about the prompt that you put in. And again, its opinions are going to improve over time, but you can get it to be a very a brainstorming ally in the process.
But it's built to make you feel good about yourself.
That's
and
right.
you need to ask it to play devil's advocate for you.
Right.
Or every idea you give it is going to be a great idea, and then you're wasting your time and money, right? So make sure that the human is signing off on any work that AI produces.
For now.
Exactly.
All right, Tom, you want to wrap us up?
Well, this has been another great conversation. Karen and Kevin, thank you so much. For our audience, you can access this through freightwaves.com, through YouTube, through the Cents Per Mile podcast. It's been great. I can't wait for our next conversation. We welcome comments and questions so we can continue to shape these conversations. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Take care.